Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Wednesday. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. A lot to get into here today. The Dayton Flyers have lost 3 straight, and, well, the seat beginning to warm up a little bit, if not a little bit, a lot for Anthony Grant. We'll talk about that coming up more around the corner. I want to open up with the Cleveland Browns, who finally made a coaching decision. They finally know who's going to lead them in 2026. The problem is it might just be for 2026. Not a very popular hire, at least for me and a lot of Browns fans, but that's what we'll open up with. You know, I'm very critical of your Cincinnati Bengals. I'm very critical of their decision-making. What? No, not you, Kinner. No way. And I like to give the Browns the benefit of the doubt. Everyone said, well, Kinner, you were very quiet throughout the coaching search for the Cleveland Browns. And I said, well, there's a reason for it. I kind of want to see who they ultimately end up with. I followed the search closely. Every article about it, it was all pointing in the direction of the number one guy that they wanted from the very beginning was Nate Schoenhaus, which was, of course, offensive-minded coach from the staff of Sean McVay and the Rams. And I don't know if that would have been the right hire or not, but, you know, if you're going to go 24 days looking for a head coach, and, you know, part of the reason you haven't hired someone in that stretch is because, well, the coach that you want is currently coaching in the playoffs. The Rams just recently got knocked out of course, the NFC Championship game this past weekend, and then they were in Los Angeles right away, ready to meet with Schoenhaus right off the bat. And I was like, well, if they end up hiring him, I don't know if it's a good hire or not, but I'm not going to say that it was a bad coaching cycle or hiring process, because if it's the guy that they wanted from the beginning, that's the explanation for why it took so long. But I will say this. You cannot sit here and take 24 days to find a head coach and then end up with Mr. Monken, because that's exactly what happened. The Cleveland Browns finally made a decision on who's going to lead their team moving forward. Todd Monken was named their new head coach earlier today. ESPN reports that the Cleveland Browns have informed Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken to be their next head coach. The team announced on Wednesday. He's 60 years old, or he turned 60 on February 5th, I should say. He replaces Kevin Stefanski, who was fired back on January 5th. 6 seasons in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski's run, of course. Now, the Browns finished 5-12 this past season and have an 8-26 record, since the last time that they reached the playoffs all the way back in 2023. Now, Cleveland hiring Monken leaves John Harbaugh in a situation. John Harbaugh, one of the reasons that kind of led to Harbaugh's exit in Baltimore, outside of just the results not being what the organization wanted come playoff time, was that the front office is really pushing John Harbaugh, according to reports, to move on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken. And I've been very down on Todd Monken just from that alone. I mean, it's Todd Monken. I don't really care. The last time Todd Monken that we heard that name a lot was when he was in Cleveland as the offensive coordinator to Freddie Kitchens when he was the head coach for 1 year. And Todd Monken didn't do anything. He didn't call any plays. He didn't do anything. So it was just kind of whatever. But ultimately, Harbaugh, the organization told Harbaugh, you need to move on from Todd Monken. He said no. He refused to do so. All reports were indicating that Monken was going to end up as the offensive coordinator in New York with the Giants under Harbaugh's staff. Well, that's not going to be the case, because Monken is now the head coach in Cleveland. For how long, who knows? But nonetheless, it's unfortunate. Monken will become Cleveland's 11th full-time coach since returning to the NFL in 1999. And again, only the Raiders, who have hired 13 coaches in that same time span, have made more coaching changes than the Browns. And I don't see how this Monken decision is going to prevent prevent the Browns from having to make a very similar decision in the near future. Kevin Stefanski was here for 6 years. And to be honest with you, and I've said this before, Kevin Stefanski, the Browns moving on from him didn't bother me. Had he returned to Cleveland next year, it wouldn't have bothered me either. I was fine with I was fine with it because I don't think Kevin Stefanski was necessarily the problem, but I also don't think it hurts to kind of shake up the voices in the room a little bit. So I don't mind moving on from Kevin Stefanski. If you're going to go in the direction of the Jadinsky guy from the Jaguars, if you were going to go with the Shieldhouse hire from the Rams, going in a much younger direction with the hopes of finding your Sean McVay, I have no problem with it. Andrew Berry, I don't think is necessarily the problem here. Again, more reports indicating that, hey, that this isn't Andrew Berry's cup of tea. I don't think he's against Todd Monken, but I don't think this is the hire that he would have made. Sounds like the Haslams very much involved in this process, and I think that's a problem. I've always been a semi-Haslam guy just because, I'm a big fan of having a cash-rich owner. I think that can quickly get you out of a jam more so than an owner like the Bengals. That may sound like, oh, there he goes again taking a shot, but I will much rather have an owner like the Haslams than Mike Brown. I think you guys can all agree Mike Brown's not a good owner. And I'm not saying that the Haslams are good owners, but I'll take the Haslams over the Brown family because I'll take the ownership that is cash rich over the ownership that is not. I don't think that's a hot take. And that's not me saying the Browns are better than the Bengals. I'm just saying in general, but I don't like when ownership is trying to make decisions that you hired a GM for. A controversial decision to keep, of course, Andrew Berry. You move on from Kevin Stefanski. Andrew Berry and Stefanski were kind of viewed as a package deal. You move on from one, keep the other. It just didn't make any sense. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Shaw says, why not just hire Schwartz? Makes no sense to me. I'm with you because then it's not done because the problem is now Jim Schwartz, according to reports, has let those close to him and within his circle, he has let it be known that he's out. He's not happy. You brought him along the entire way. I could see if you interviewed him initially, you want to give him an interview. He's on your staff. He's under contract for 26, but you should have let him know early on. Hey, we're giving you an interview right now. We're interested in just kind of, feeling this out, but we are going in a direction of hiring an offensive minded head coach. And I think if you kind of cut the legs out from underneath them at the very beginning, you don't allow the excitement or the anticipation to build over 24 days. You don't string along one of the best defensive coordinators in football for 24 days, who's been on your staff for years, who actually is one of the reasons, if not the only reason, that your team has had a chance to win in recent years. You don't string him along for 24 days and then say, gotcha, we're giving it to this bum. I don't think Todd Monken's a good decision. I don't. Now, at the same time, if they hired Shieldhouse, I also couldn't sit here and say Cleveland's going to the Super Bowl, baby. I don't know. But I think after all of this, I think it's safe to say that Cleveland, every time it seems like they have a plan, they don't. Last year when Myles Garrett kind of did that little smirk with the reporter saying that they kind of let him know what the plan was at quarterback, and he smirked and he said he was a fan of it. And he said, oh, don't worry, it's going to be big. And it was Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Now, I know one of those is a Pro Bowl quarterback, so let's not be too disrespectful here. But I don't think Cleveland has plans. They always seem to have a plan until they don't. And more times than not, they don't. You moved on from Kevin Stefanski very confidently, very quickly. You think you only do that if you have someone in mind, and they either got rejected. Now, to be fair, I was critical of the Browns as well because it wasn't a good look to have so many bigger names, turn down the Browns. The Udinsky decision to step, to step away from the running to become the head coach of the Browns. That was because the Browns had let him be known that he was not going to be the head coach. They had also and this is the guy I kind of wanted, Mike McDaniel. They had let Mike McDaniel know as well that he was not going to be the head coach, so he pulled his name out of the running. Now, people say, oh, no, Mike McDaniel pulled out because he didn't want any part of that mess. Well, Mike McDaniel also pulled his name from the Buffalo Bills as well. That, you know what I mean? Like that's, but no one spun it that way. But because it's Cleveland, I get it. Todd Monken's not a good hire. It's not. You don't move on from Kevin Stefanski for Todd Monken. If you move on from Kevin Stefanski to get a Mike McDaniel, I'm fine with that. You move on from a Kevin Stefanski because you want to try to go in a younger direction with Nate Shieldhouse, I'm fine with that as well. But you don't move on from Kevin Stefanski to jump over Jim Schwartz to give the reins to Todd Monken. I just don't get it. Not a fan of this move. Not a fan of this move whatsoever. But the Haslams, they jump in on the conversation that, this is the statement that they released a little bit ago regarding Todd Monken. Monken is an outstanding leader and has a clear vision to lead our team as a strong communicator who values trust with his players, but also accountability and preparation. In our committee's exhaustive reference work on Todd, his commitment to player development was evident, and his tough and straightforward coaching is respected by the players and the coaches he's worked with, putting our team in a position to succeed while developing our players to maximize their talents. Browns owners Dee and Jimmy Haslam said in a statement that was released earlier this afternoon. The owner releasing the statement. You know, I don't know. I think this is a very underwhelming hire. Browns fans, how do we feel? Non-Browns fans, I know how you feel. You're making jokes. I don't blame you. I'm right there with you. I'm kind of laughing at the Browns right now, too. I'm not here to defend them. Ron Howard says the Pro Bowl quarterback sure reeled him in. So further notice, been better off for hiring within. Ron, I don't agree with you often. I agree with you there. You might as well have just gone in the direction of Jim Schwartz. It doesn't make any sense. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. We are live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, and we're live here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Let us know in the chat. All right, find us on Facebook or on YouTube, however you're watching, and be involved in the show. You could text into the show as well. 937-518-1410. Todd Monken, was that the right move? I don't think it was. Is there anyone out there that disagrees? I haven't seen one Browns fan on social media come out and say that they like the hire or even say that it's not that bad. I think it's bad. I think this is the wrong move. 937-518-1410. Call or text. Did the Browns make the right move hiring Todd Monken? We'll discuss more when we come back. Plus, we'll switch over to college basketball around the corner. Dayton Flyers, they've lost 3 straight. That seat is now going from, well, not so cold to semi-warm to pretty hot. How hot is the seat for Anthony Grant? We got that coming up around the corner as well. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
A is for ABS, B is for BCM, C is for CBT, D is for, don't worry, we're not going to quiz you, because at Carroll Works Tire, we know the auto industry is full of acronyms. But here's the one that matters the most, tire. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. Carroll Works Tire, keeping Dayton rolling from A to Z. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com.
For decades, people have been asking, what's the famous recipe behind Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken? And we've decided we're finally going to tell you. Starting with the 8-piece family meal and its 8 pieces of crispy, delicious bone-in chicken, 4 fluffy, buttery biscuits, and 2 large sides. Oh, wait, I'm just getting word from our lawyers that I can't actually tell you any of that. So, better pick up an 8-piece family meal and figure it out for yourself. Good luck. The 8-piece family meal, only at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, famous for a reason.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Progressive knows RV owners like to travel at a nice, relaxing pace. Just like this commercial. They're not rushing to a departure gate at the airport, because they depart from their driveway. And they can relax even more knowing they're protected by Progressive. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
No idea why that keeps playing twice, but it's a problem to fix later. I'm Justin Kinner. We welcome you back. I think you got the picture. It's the Justin Kinner Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So, again, we welcome you back. The Cleveland Browns, after 24 days of searching for their replacement for Kevin Stefanski, they finally decided on Todd Monken. Again, former offensive coordinator for technically Cleveland. He was the offensive coordinator back when Freddie Kitchens was the head coach for 1 year. But he was the OC for John Harbaugh and the Ravens over the last couple of years and helped really kind of resurrect that offense and really kind of get Lamar comfortable. I mean, look, Lamar won MVPs in this offense, so we'll see. Who knows? Maybe this works. I don't know. Cleveland has a lot more problems. Like everyone out there that said, okay, they needed an offensive-minded coach. That's what they went and did. But the problem is they had an offensive-minded coach, and the offense was one of the worst in the leagues over the last couple of years because quarterback play was bad. O-line bad. You know, Nick Chubb injured, out. They move on. Quinshawn, great, then hurt, then out. And it's just not been good. So Todd Monken's fine. It's all about what you do from this date moving forward. You had a monster draft last year. You had a rookie as your leading receiver. You had a rookie as your leading passer. You had a rookie as your leading rusher. You had a rookie that led you in tackles. You had a rookie. I mean, it was a dominant draft last year for Andrew Berry, who I think the only reason still has a job with Cleveland right now is because he knocked it out of the park last year. And everything you read, Kevin Stefanski played a big role in the Browns drafting Dylan Gabriel. Andrew Berry did the rest of that draft and pieced it all together, and he hit on every draft pick last year except for one. I'm going to give him credit. I don't think we're out on Shedeur yet. I don't think he had enough weapons to know exactly what he can or can't do. I think it's kind of ridiculous. You guys can't sit there and say, I don't think he needs weapons to know if he could play or not, says the fan base that has a quarterback that desperately needs 2 number 1 wide receivers. I mean, come on. So he needs weapons to know exactly who he has there. So, and I'm seeing this a lot, that people are concerned about the future of Jim Schwartz. Now, Troy says, did Jim Schwartz stay on? This ruffled feathers. Jim Schwartz was involved in the interview process from very early on. Again, this was a 24-day process. 24 days, the Browns went and looked for a head coach. They interviewed Jim Schwartz early on. Tommy Reese, they interviewed him early on, gave him a head coach interview. They even gave Jim Schwartz a second interview 2 weeks later. They ultimately, the finalist was Nate Showhouse, and he was from the Rams. And then you had, of course, Jim Schwartz and Todd Monken. Of those names, I would have preferred, if you want to stay with Jim Schwartz, just an internal hire, fine. But, you kind of want a fresh face and voice in there to kind of, I do think you needed something fresh in there to kind of shake off from whatever this was the last 6 years, although there were some highs in there. I'm not going to pretend that Stefanski wasn't horrible in Cleveland. It was just time for a new voice. I just don't know if this was the voice to do it. And a lot of people are making a big deal about Jim Schwartz. I love Jim Schwartz. I would not have minded if he was named the head coach. But apparently reports are coming out that he has let people know that are close to him that he's done, that he's leaving, and that he was furious that he was not named the head coach and how he believes he was strung along. That's all I agree with him on. I do feel like you kind of did string him along. Why bring him that far along in the process to not give him the head coaching gig? Because my view is this. Everyone out there that says, man, the defense is only good because of Jim Schwartz, it's just not true. You have a great secondary. You got the best rookie linebacker in the draft last year in Schlesinger. You have obviously the best football player in the NFL in Myles Garrett. You top 5 defense. I'm not saying that Jim Schwartz brought nothing to the table. He absolutely did. You brought in a hell of a chef and you gave him some of the best ingredients to cook some of the best meals. Now it's up to Todd Monken. If Jim Schwartz truly is gone, you got to go find a good defensive coordinator. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think that's going to be that hard to find. I do think if you hire Jim Schwartz as your head coach, it's going to be very tough to find anybody that's going to want to come to Cleveland to be their offensive coordinator. However, you lose Jim Schwartz and you hire Todd Monken, I don't think it's going to be hard to find a defensive coordinator that's going to want to come to Cleveland to coach Myles Garrett, Schlesinger in that secondary. I don't think Cleveland's going to have a hard time there. Losing Jim Schwartz isn't ideal, but I don't think it's the end of the world. That defense is elite. That defense is legit. And that defense, there's going to be a lot of defensive coordinators who, if they're not in a good spot, are going to want to go take that job, because you can go be the DC of the Cleveland Browns, and that's going to put you in position to get head coaching opportunities down the road. So I like Jim Schwartz. I think it was a mistake not to give him the head coaching gig, but I kind of understand it. You give Jim Schwartz the head coaching gig, Jim Schwartz now has to go out and find an offensive coordinator. Who's going to want to be the offensive coordinator of this mess right now? Todd Monken's your head coach. He'll lead that offense. Now he just gets to dangle Myles Garrett and Schlesinger and company out there. All right, who wants to come be the DC of this group over here? I think a lot of guys are going to line up for that. I think that played a role in this. Todd Monken had a lot of success with Lamar Jackson. They won games without Lamar. They won, they made the playoffs and won playoff a game or two or whatever it was with, of course, another bad Pro Bowl quarterback. He's had success there, but we'll see. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of the 24 days to end up with Todd Monken. But I think considering the circumstances that they found themselves in, I do understand why they went this route. I'm not a fan of losing Jim Schwartz, but like I said, if you make Jim Schwartz the DC, you now have to find an offensive coordinator. Nobody is going to come to line up. No one of value is going to want to give up anything to go be the OC in Cleveland right now with the mess that they have. You don't know what you have with Deshaun. You don't know who the hell Shador is. That offensive line, you're hoping that they could patch that up, and they've done it in the past. Quinshawn, who knows when they're going to get Quinshawn Judkins back. So I get it. Monken, you're in charge of this. If we keep Schwartz, great. Monken, Schwartz, a veteran duo, that's fantastic. I think that's the best of the bad circumstances. That's the best of the bad, if that makes sense. But if you hire Jim Schwartz as the head coach, no one's lining up to take that OC job. Nobody. I don't know. This I don't know who this is, because on in my text app, guys, I don't get the names of who's texting in. But I ruffled some feathers earlier when I brought up the fact that I'll take a cash-rich owner over Mike Brown any day. I'm assuming this is the same. So Chris, I think this is you. I think you texted as well, Chris. So I'm going to read your YouTube comment as opposed to the text. But just so you know, I wasn't ignoring your text. I just didn't know who texted in. So Chris said, to say you'd rather have a Haslam because he has money is hilarious. He puts his hands in everything, constantly sabotaging his own coaches, roster, and mostly fans. How's that gone for Jerry Jones? Being cash rich is what ruined his franchise. All that cash, and he threw it at Deshaun Watson to set his franchise back 5 years. Chris in Dayton. Chris, me and you will agree to disagree on this. Here's the thing. So what Chris is alluding to is when I made a comment earlier in the show where Mike Brown's a bad owner, the Haslams are bad owners. Of the two bad owners, I'll take the Browns' bad ownership over the Brown family. Because I think what Cincinnati's biggest problem right now is they stumbled upon Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. And yes, they found ways to pay them. But I think that has played a major role in their inability to be able to. I just saw ESPN put out a list of the top free agents heading into the free agency in the NFL. Trey Hendrickson's right there at the top. And they can't keep him. And the question is why? Why can't you do that? Because they just don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the mental aptitude in that front office to find ways to get it done. You have a cash-rich owner. It's a lot easier to get it done. Maybe Duke Tobin does know maybe Duke Tobin could get some stuff done if he had the flexibility that an Andrew Berry has, that Andrew Berry has the flexibility because of a cash-rich owner. Now, I get what you're saying about the Deshaun Watson thing. You bring up the fact that, it was the cash-rich, being cash-rich is what ruined his franchise, all that cash that he threw at Deshaun Watson. The result of Deshaun Watson has been horrible. But at the time, there were 6 teams lining up to try to get Deshaun Watson because they all thought that, hey, he's going to be noisy because of all the gross stuff that he was involved with. But he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And, if you get your quarterback right, everything else falls into place. That's why Cleveland did what they did. There was a lot of teams lining up to get Deshaun Watson. And sure, they didn't give him the fully guaranteed contract. But, who cares? They gave Deshaun more. 9 times out of 10, a quarterback doesn't do what Deshaun did, going from a top 5 quarterback to a year and a half later looking like he's never played a football game in his life. All right. But Cleveland's always that 10th. Cleveland is always that 1 in 10 of it not working. That's just Cleveland's luck. You guys can hate me all you want. I always go back to the intent of the move. The intent of the move was to go get a quarterback that was top 5 in the league. I mean, it's not as if he was a bum in Houston and then they threw him guaranteed money hoping he'd be good. He was elite in Houston, elite in Houston, top 5 in Houston. It was when he was in Houston, it was Lamar Jackson. I mean, it was Patrick Mahomes. It was Lamar Jackson. You had Josh Allen coming onto the scene, but it was Deshaun Watson. It just was. And if he was the top 5, and if he was the quarterback that he was in Houston, in Cleveland, we wouldn't be having this conversation and the Haslams would look like geniuses. So with all due respect, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like, I don't think it was crazy for a cash-rich owner who could afford to miss to go all in on a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That was unprecedented. Seeing a talent like Deshaun just completely fall off the cliff in his mid-20s, come on. Come on. That's ridiculous. Nobody saw that coming. You wanted it to come, and you wanted it to happen, and good for you, it did. Nobody saw it going as bad as what it did. As far as that goes. So Chris said nobody was giving him fully guaranteed money. Why is that? Because he's cash rich and he can, and it set you back 5 years. No, what set them back 5 years is Deshaun being bad. It's as simple as that. Deshaun being bad is what set them back, not the deal. Because if Deshaun is even an average quarterback, $40 million a year, $45 million a year in today's NFL, whatever. I mean, that's why the Seahawks, look at the Seahawks, by the way. The Seahawks gave $40 million a year to Sam Darnold. They're in the Super Bowl with a pretty young roster, and they have him for 3 years, 2 more years after this. The Seahawks, they're going to be able to spend a lot of money because they have a quarterback at $40 million. Deshaun just had to be above average, and he wasn't. All I'm saying is, and by the way, Cleveland was desperate for a quarterback. I've had this conversation with many people before. If you're not desperate for a quarterback, then what's the purpose of being in the NFL? Everyone is. The Steelers are desperate for a quarterback. You know, and by the way, they were in on it. They didn't want to give fully guaranteed money to Deshaun, for one, because they couldn't, because they're not cash rich. So there's that problem. And 2, they didn't do it. They didn't make that attempt. Sure, they avoided a disaster there, but their inability to be aggressive to go after any quarterback has done what for them? I mean, it is what it is. Chris says you're talking about money that isn't guaranteed 100%. They got it done. You're mad because, I mean, you have Cincinnati, who's not aggressive one tiny bit. Cleveland, who's over-aggressive. I'll take over-aggressive every day of the week. I think it's more embarrassing to be the Bengals, to miss the playoffs for 3 straight years with Joe Burrow, than to be Cleveland, who went all in to try to get a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and it blew up in their face. I will take an over-aggressive ownership any day of the week than an ownership who has Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and sits back on his hands and waits for somebody to wake him up to try to tell him what year it is so that they can go make moves. I get you feel passionate about your side, but you could say that the Bengals have played it smart the last couple of years. Well, what has that got them? They've missed the playoffs for 3 straight years. What has that got them? I don't even know why I'm having this sub-argument in the middle of this. Bottom line is, I don't think this was a great hire. I don't think the Browns handled this very well. We'll see if it works. But my last point on this, like I said earlier, everyone said they should have hired Jim Schwartz as the head coach. I've kind of rethought that. I changed my mind on that. No, they shouldn't have. The offense is bad. You hire Jim Schwartz, you still keep him as your defensive mind, that's fine. But then who are you going to get to come run this offense? Nobody's going to line up for that. It's career suicide. If Jim Schwartz decides to leave, there's going to be a lot of really good defensive minds that are going to step up to come lead that defense. You have the best player in the NFL in Myles Garrett, not the best defensive player, the best player. There's no player in the NFL that is more dominant than Myles Garrett. Someone's going to step up to go take that job. So if Jim Schwartz wants to go, that stinks, but I think he's a lot easier to replace than than finding an offensive coordinator. Who knows? All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show. 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Text or call. I'll pick up with your responses when we come back. The Dayton Flyers have lost 3 straight. The seat starting to get a little overly hot for Anthony Grant. We'll discuss when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
This is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about. But if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/plan to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/plan for 20% off. trustandwill.com/PLAN.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When you think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Save big on everything when you shop at Menards. We're your destination for electrical products. Keep yourself safe and protected with new GFCI outlets from Legrand. They're available in a variety of finishes. Now at Menards, save big on all Legrand outlets and dimmer switches. View our entire selection of Legrand products today on Menards.com. Plus, check out our weekly flyer and find plenty of great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, and we welcome you back. Justin Kinner with you here, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We got some college basketball talk coming up around the corner. How about the Red Hawks? How about Miami, 21-0? I mean, they trailed 47-43 at home against UMass last night, and they outscore UMass 43-37 in the second half. They win 86-84. I mean, since cracking the top 25, they had to win, or since cracking the top, they're 2-0 since cracking the top 25, but their last three, I mean, they had to, of course, win two of the last three in overtime, and then they hold on for dear life last night for a 2-point win. But Miami, the Red Hawks, 21-0. Good for them. Good for them. I get it. At the very beginning, I was a part of the crew that was screaming about we're overreacting to their undefeated record. We were fresh out of non-con play. They were undefeated, but the best team. And by the way, I think Wright State's a very good team, but Wright State was the best team that Miami had played. And I'm like, okay, that's a good win over Wright State, but like that's the best team you've played. It's not as if you didn't play any bye games. You didn't play anyone worth a darn. So it's hard for me to look at that record and say that it was bulletproof. I don't care if you haven't played any elite teams. To get to 21-0 in today's college basketball, when there's so many distractions out there and the target on their back as each win, has come along, it's gotten bigger and bigger, and they've handled it well. They've had to win in overtimes on the road, at home. They've had to come from behind. They've had to hold off teams, win by 1 possession, 2 points, 1 point. I give Coach Steele a lot of credit. I think that they've done a hell of a job responding to where they should. So, nonetheless, but okay. I want to get back. I'll get back into college basketball coming up here around the corner. I want to talk about Anthony Grant. Here's a tease for you. I think Anthony Grant and Zach Taylor, there's a direct correlation between the two. I'll let you think about what that is coming up here for just a moment. But a lot of the things I hear from Bengals fans are the same things I hear from Dayton fans, and we're going to get into that more coming up around the corner. We'll also talk about Anthony Grant. Is he officially on the hot seat? Dayton basketball, Dayton Flyers talk more around the corner. They lost their third straight last night. Archie Miller, who, of course, was here for 6 years, 5 NCAA tournament wins, right? They won the A-10 twice. They get to an Elite Eight. I mean, it was that was an awesome 6-year span, and that seemed like decades and decades ago. It was a decade ago, though. But 9 years of Anthony Grant, and it's just more of the same, and not a good thing. We'll talk about that more in a moment. All right. So the Cleveland Browns, they decide Todd Monken. It's created a conversation across the board. As I've said before, I don't think it's a great hire. Maybe it works out. I still don't know if that was like Cleveland could get bailed out here and this works. I think Cleveland could, they have a top 5 defense. All right. You get Quinshawn back, who was not, I think he was the best. He was the best rookie running back last year. And he looked like one of the top backs in the league as far as that goes. And, the Browns are going to be aggressive in free agency. They're being linked to guys like Tyler Linderbaum. All right. They're going to be aggressive in that. I read something today that they're looking at George Pickens, that they're going to be aggressive in trying to go get, elite pass catchers. Again, everyone out there, Shedeur is horrible. I can't say he's horrible because I don't know. They gave him no help last year. That offensive line was bad. His wide receivers led the league in drops. All right. He had nothing around him. And then the good players that he did have around him were all injured by the time you get back to those last 7 games. Not an excuse. It's just reality. All right. That's the reality of it. The Browns need to give him talent so that, if you give him talent, and this is what they did with Baker. Okay. Baker Mayfield as a rookie, you threw him out there. You wanted to see what he could do. Oh, he could play. And they had some talent that first year, but it wasn't like a ton. But, he after being winless the year before, they get 7 wins that first year of Baker Mayfield. And then they said, okay, we got something here. We got Nick Chubb. We have a great offensive line. All right. At the time they go get Austin Hooper, who was they spent a lot on him, but he was one of the best blocking tight ends in football at the time. And it complemented that great offensive line and that run game. You had David Njoku, who was blossoming into an elite tight end as well. And then they made the trade, to go get Odell Beckham Jr. And from there on out, they said, okay, Baker, we're giving you everything you need now. Can you do it or not? He could, but he couldn't. And they made the decision to move on. That's what you got to do with Shedeur now, because he has a top 5 defense. You go get Linderbaum, you fine-tune that offensive line. Now it's sink or swim for Shedeur Sanders as far as I'm concerned there. Or maybe there's still something left in the tank for Deshaun. It's not a good situation. Deshaun and Shedeur, that's what you're working with. That's what you're working with. Not great. I get it. But if you're going to pay Deshaun all that money, you might as well see if there's anything left in the tank. Maybe there is. We'll see what ultimately happens. Man, we're still fired up about this comment about there are people upset in the chat because I said that I will take a cash-rich owner over a cheap, bad owner any day. And Mike Brown is a cheap, bad owner. Haslam's are a cash-rich, bad ownership. And I think that if you are the Haslams, you can get out of a jam way more than a bad, cheap ownership in the Bengals. I'll take the Haslams over the Brown family any day. I'm not saying that they're great, but it's not even just the Haslams in general. It's any cash-rich owner. Give me a cash-rich owner any day of the week. Because everyone said that the Browns were screwed because of the contract of Deshaun Watson. That hasn't necessarily been the case. All they do every year is they manipulate the cap the way that the Eagles do. I'm not look, the Browns are not the Eagles because the Browns don't win football games. But the Browns haven't won football games because of the Deshaun Watson contract. The Browns haven't won football games because Deshaun Watson has been ass. That's why the Browns haven't won football games. because the Browns always go spend a lot of money in free agent every year since they've got him. They roll over a few contracts and they go spend a ton of money in free agency every year. Every year. And every year when free agency starts, you're going to see a graphic of all the teams who are in the red, who are, who have no money to spend whatsoever. And then we forget about it. And then they roll over a few contracts and boom. I mean, what are you talking about? Since Deshaun Watson was signed, okay, they had Denzel Ward was at one point the highest paid defensive back in football since Deshaun was signed. All right. They went out and they got a bunch of help, up on the defensive line to help with that. They went and got Jim Schwartz since then. From that point on, they made Myles Garrett for a short stint of time the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL since you signed Deshaun. All they do is spend money, and they're going to continue to spend money this coming up. They haven't lost games because of the Deshaun contract. They've lost games because Deshaun has been bad. Now, the Bengals, on the other hand, Joe Burrow, through no fault of his own, Joe Burrow getting paid has hurt the Bengals more than Deshaun Watson has been getting paid. And Deshaun Watson hasn't brought anything to the table. Joe Burrow got paid, and you're going to get T, or you're going to get Jamar. They didn't want to pay T, but they got bullied into paying T. And outside of paying those guys, they've just kind of sat around and said, we can't do anything else. Can't or won't. You can decide on what that, motive is. But like I said, ESPN just put out a ranking, the 2026. All right, here's the list of the NFL free agency tracker, ranking the top 50 players, even with QBs available. All right, number 5 on this list is Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher from the Eagles. All right, Daniel Jones, quarterback for the Colts last year, he comes in at number 4. Tyler Linderbaum, the center, all right, for the Ravens, he's going to be available. He's going to Cleveland. Cleveland is going to be super aggressive in landing him. Number 2 on this list is George Pickens. And guess who comes in at number 1? Trey Hendrickson is the number 1 free agent available this upcoming offseason. And Cincinnati doesn't have a cent invested into that defense, and they're just letting this guy go. They're just going to let him go. Why is that? Oh, because they paid their quarterback. Cleveland pays their quarterback. And again, they're not losing because they paid him. They're losing because he stinks. But they've still been able to pay everybody else. This isn't that hard to figure out. Give me a cash rich owner any day, as far as I'm concerned. Matthew Sent says, agree with you for the most part. The lone exception is this past season. They were bad, and that wasn't Deshaun's fault. That Deshaun move was made to kind of capitalize on a 3-year window. Right? And that 3-year window is starting to fade a little bit. That offensive line's getting bad now, which they're having to fine tune that. Right? Nick Chubb, losing him was a big problem. And then they just never invested into wide receiver. They were hoping that you had David Bell that you got from Purdue. That didn't work out. I'm a big Cedric Tillman guy. That didn't work out. He has everything you need to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL. And when he starts to show signs of taking off, he gets hurt. And he's missed significant time every year. He can't stay healthy. The way the Bengals can't draft offensive linemen, it's like wide receiver is Cleveland's kryptonite as far as that goes, and quarterback. Don't get me started. But you know what I mean? There's just the New England Patriots during their dynasty run, which is ironic because they're right back in the Super Bowl. Throughout the Bill Belichick era, Tom Brady era, they couldn't draft a wide receiver to save their life. That's why they finally just said, F it, let's go get Randy Moss. And they really weren't super aggressive at wide receiver after, they had a short stint with Ocho Cinco past his prime. They went and they tried it, of course, with Antonio Brown, and that didn't work there. It worked in Tampa with Tom Brady. But you know what I mean? There's just some teams that no matter what, that there's just that one position that they can't get right. It's wide receiver in Cleveland. And it's not really because of Deshaun Watson. It's simply because they just can't get it right for anything. And that's the unfortunate part. So that's why when I see these top free agents, Cleveland's being linked to, of course, and Dallas is going to step in. George Pickens, he's going to stay in Dallas. I mean, they're going to pay him a lot, but Cleveland could be aggressive there. Jerry Jeudy's just not good enough to carry anything. I mean, he was one of the league leaders in drops last year. Alec Pierce, wide receiver from the Colts. He's 26 years old. He's going to be available. Breece Hall, running back. There's big-time playmakers on the offensive side that the Browns are going to have to sit back and take a look at. Mike Evans is an older wide receiver that they would have to look at. I don't think that's a smart route to go as far as that goes. So we'll see what ends up happening. But, Cleveland, Deshaun works out. You go all in for that 5-year window. It didn't work because Deshaun didn't work. But everything else did. They had one of the best offensive lines in football. They were a top five offensive line, top 5 run game in football, top 5 defense. That was the time to go all out, and it blew up in their face. So, is what it is. Chris on YouTube says, Jimmy Haslam single-handedly ruined the Browns' momentum by getting rid of Baker and signing Deshaun. Chris, you're so full of fill in the blank. Chris, I've defended this before. You guys act like everyone that tries to do this BS about the Browns making a mistake moving on from Baker, you were the same morons that were sitting here saying that the Browns would be stupid to give $40 million a year to Baker, years ago when this happened. Stop it. I guarantee you were probably one of those same people that were saying how dumb the Browns would have been to give Baker Mayfield that money. The Browns were damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you give Baker Mayfield 35 to 40 million, which sounds like nothing now, but at that time, that was the going rate for a quarterback. Like when I hear 55 million a year for a quarterback right now, holy crap, that's a lot of money. That really locks some teams. I mean, look at Cincinnati. They did that. They can't even sniff a defender on defense worth the damn, right? Like we know how much this money hurts teams. That number 5 years ago was 35 to 40 in that range. At that time, Patrick Mahomes had signed a $45 million contract, but he was coming fresh off of a Super Bowl. And oh yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes. Baker wasn't going to get 45, but he was going to get in that 35 to 40 range. Everyone was saying, yeah, good. I liked Baker at the time, but I was still a little uneasy about the idea of that 35 to 40 for him. Because keep in mind, this is as Patrick Mahomes was in the midst of a dynasty. Josh Allen was taking off. Joe Burrow emerging for Cincinnati. Lamar Jackson, hello. You wanted to take Baker Mayfield into a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. You wanted to take Baker Mayfield into that? Think about where we were at that time. Now, whatever. At that time, every one of those guys, like we were talking about, out with the old and with the new. We were saying goodbye to Ben Roethlisberger. We were saying goodbye to Phillip Rivers and his 26,000 kids. We were saying goodbye to a lot of the older great quarterbacks, Drew Brees. We were saying bye to all of them. It was the emergence of the new stars. It was the emergence of the new QBs. And they were all in the AFC, and 2 of them were in the same division as the Browns. And you wanted the Browns at that time, and you were mocking the Browns, paying 35 to 40 mil a year for Baker Mayfield to go to war every year with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, 4 games a year, 16-game schedule at that time. In the same conference that has Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Come on. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself now. You're trying to act like right now. Yeah, of course. Would the Browns love Baker Mayfield right now? Of course. But let's also not forget that Baker Mayfield is the same quarterback today that he was then. He's going to start out hot. There's a ton of games where you're going to tag me and all Browns fans in and say, I bet you wish you had this in Cleveland. I notice all you morons stopped tagging me and all Browns fans in those same tweets as the season went along. I mean, you're talking about a team in the Bucs that doesn't even, they're playing the worst division in football and could barely dominate that. But you wanted the Browns made a mistake for not signing Baker to compete in the same division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson for 4 games a year. Come on. I'm sorry. You're not, that's, stop it with that. That the Haslams ruined Cleveland's momentum because they didn't stick with Baker Mayfield. If you go back to that time, it didn't feel like Cleveland had any momentum with Baker Mayfield because of all of you. You were burying the Browns, saying how stupid that they were for being willing to pay. Look at this. My watch this is insane. My watch telling me that my heart rate's very, very high right now. That's what Chris on YouTube, he has me all pissed off right now. He got me all fired up. Congratulations. You got me. You got me. But it's absolutely insane to sit there and say that the Haslams ruined Cleveland's momentum. All right. I tell you what, I got to step away for a few minutes. We're going to come back. We're going to talk college basketball. Again, it's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Text or call if you want your side to be heard. But, Ann Anderson said Watson had too much baggage to succeed at anything except opening a massage parlor. He knew all about that. I dare you. Ann, come on now. And bringing the heat. Yeah, I have no comeback, Ann. I'm going to sit this one out. But nonetheless. So, all right. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to do my taxes this year. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael Maxwell and Joe Tanis today, 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits, and all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
With Progressive Insurance, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. See if you could save by calling 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visiting Progressive.com. Again, call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or online at Progressive.com.
You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatment has arrived, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. If this is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on your calendar today. Call 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enid. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
The future depends on teachers who are reinventing the classroom and starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-931-3030.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center may not be available in all states, not available in California.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
This year's tax changes. Better not get caught snoozing. Miss one deduction, lose thousands. Not amusing.
Big tax changes can mean bigger refunds at Jackson Hewitt. And right now, get $100 just to try us.
Don't worry, tax filers. If money is tight, get $100 from Jackson Hewitt, so you'll sleep better at night.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
DQ presents the Spicy Menu. For a limited time, try the new Flamethrower Chicken Strip Basket for $6.99 with spicy, bold strips that heat you up. Served with a side of famous DQ soft serve as a dip to cool you down. That's right, dip those spicy chicken strips right into soft serve. Plus fries and toast, all for just $6.99. And add a new pineapple lemonade sparkler or cooler made with tahini. It's the limited time only Spicy Menu. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy, tastes good. Participation may vary.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
Joey Beckett here at Arbogast Ford. With our pickup and delivery service and our remote service, we'll make it easy for you to have your vehicle serviced. Call Arbogast Ford and we'll handle the rest. We'll pick up your vehicle, service it, and bring it back to you, or we'll service it right where it's at. It's that easy. Call Arbogast Ford for all your vehicle needs. Arbogast Ford, exit 69 off of I-75. Look for the giant American flag. We'll see you soon.
With Progressive Insurance, you could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com for more information. That's Progressive.com.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. with a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, a little bit of a longer break there. I had to catch up on some spots, but we're back. Welcome back. Hour 2, The Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio. Oh, look, Chris is back in the chat. I mean, a little bit ago, he said he had to turn the show off, that my show is awful because there's so much bias. I love the people that do that. I can't listen to you. There's too much bias. You're not supposed to have bias. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Everyone has bias. There's no such thing as there's not one piece of content that you take in that does not have some kind of bias in it in some capacity. Like, let's just be real. I mean, that's why the left watches CNN, because there's no bias there. There is. It's just your bias. The right watch nothing but Fox. No bias there, right? No, there's a ton of bias. It's just your bias. Even the news channels that try to say bias-free media right here. F off. There's no such thing as that. So, Chris, with all due respect, I don't care if you like my show or not. All right, I appreciate that you're tuning in. I want you to like it. But I also don't want to hear lame excuses like I don't like your show because of all the bias. You don't care about bias. You're just mad that I don't share your bias. If I shared your bias that your Bengals are great, which is just moronic, then you would like it. That's not happening here. I literally said Cleveland, the ownership is not good. All I said was, how is this a biased take, Christopher? Please tell me. How is it that I'm saying I would prefer an ownership that is cash rich over a poor ownership? By the way, that's anything in life. If you win the lottery, are you going to say, oh man, I won $1 million? I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn this one back in. Can I just get one of those scratch offs where I win $1? I don't like cash rich. Give me a break, dude. Knock it off. There wasn't even a hot take. All I said is the Bengals have bad ownership. The Browns have bad ownership. And if I have to pick between both bad ownership groups, I'm going to pick the one that has money. It's as simple as that. That's not a hot take. Why does that upset you? And why do you need to come in here and text and tell me how bad I am and the show is? Then you say, that's it. I'm out. I had to turn it off. It's awful. And then come back 5 seconds later because I guess you were done with your little pee break. And then you had to come back and start throwing insults some more. Cool. Good for you, buddy. Thank you. I don't care. Your main argument today is my bad team is better than your bad team. Score. What a flex. You're awesome, Christopher. Cool. I'm moving on. My goodness. What a weirdo. And this isn't he has a different take and I'm mad at him. No. It's your show's awful. You're this, you're that. Not because my voice is annoying, not because my face is ugly, not because I'm fat. It's because you said that the Browns ownership being cash rich, that you prefer that over the Bengals ownership. That's why I'm awful. Kick rocks, dude. Go run with scissors, dude. Leave me alone. I can't stand people that are like that. Oh, because you have a different opinion than me, a sports opinion about things. I mean, my God, it's the Justin Kinner Show. It's sports talk. It's not religion. It's not politics. It's freaking sports talk. And you got this guy, you're freaking awful. I had to turn it off. Oh, my God, it's horrible. It's so biased. Leave. Go turn on a show that'll tell you Mike Brown's great. And if that helps you sleep at night, buddy, more power to you. My goodness, people. I don't know why. I mean, look, he's on Mr. ESPN research. The Bengals are 114, 11-3. And he's going back and he's going into town about how bad the Browns have been throughout the house. Yes, the Browns haven't been good. But I'm also like, I don't know what do you want me to say? It was a simple just comment in passing that and by the way, I think if you put a poll out there, the Haslams are bad and the Brown family is bad. But I will say this, if the Haslams were the owner of the Bengals, if the Haslams had Joe Burrow, I promise you, they wouldn't be bad. Your owner has Joe Burrow and is bad. Stop it. I think it's more embarrassing. Like the Browns are embarrassing, yes, but I think what Cincinnati's done the last 3 years is way more embarrassing than anything the Browns have done, and that includes winning 2 games in 2 years, including going 0-16. To lose, you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and you can't make the playoffs in 3 freaking years, my guy. Research all the stupid little things you want on StatMuse and all you want. That's fine. That is way you missed the playoffs 3 straight years with Joe Burrow. That's way more freaking embarrassing than anything else. My goodness. I tell you what. All right. Again, I have to step aside. I just got the look. Okay. I'm done. My bad. I'm stepping aside. I got to do a sports talk show instead of yelling with, Insano Christopher, who's like, oh no, Mike Brown is just a god. Mike Brown is the best thing in the world. My goodness. I'll be right back. I got to go get yelled at. By the way, Kev is my boss now, and he just opened the door and kind of gave me the look. So now I got to go deal with that. I'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinder Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Ooh.
The Justin Kinder Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle is more than a tax preparer. We're your friend. Stop and see Michael Maxwell and Joe Tannis at their new office at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Whether you have personal or business taxes, Michael and Joe are here to take care of all the details for you, down to the last penny. Allow our experience to ease the burden of doing it yourself. Make an appointment at 937-543-5770 or online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where our target is your satisfaction.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-575-7098.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-7098. That's 800-575-7098.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Now, back to the Justin Kinder Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinder Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. You can call or text. I had to switch cameras real quick as well. So there's that for those watching online, including shout out to my new friend, Christopher. We're real tight. Yeah, I always get a good kick out of that. No, the bias. I can't listen to this. Flyer fans have told me that for years. Your right state bias is showing. Okay. You shouldn't have bias in your media. That's not true at all, actually. every journalist at CNN, I think they all have bias. Now, before the left gets all mad at me, relax. I think the guys, I don't know. I feel like Fox calls it pretty fairly down the middle. I mean, come on, what are we doing? Everything has bias. ESPN has bias when it comes to the SEC. Okay. Fox Sports, getting out of politics, they have a lot of, bias when it comes to, the Big Ten now. So is what it is. But anyways, all right, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. So I know that the camera right now is kind of froze. We'll get that reset for you coming up here in just a moment. But I feel like to obviously get this reset here, and to avoid me, having an aneurysm once again, I think we just need to switch topics, and I think that's smart. So it is what it is. Okay, here's the deal. I want to switch gears to college basketball. So Dayton Flyers last night. The Flyers last night, they lost their third straight. And I thought it was interesting, mainly because of the fact that I didn't think there was a chance in hell that they were going to lose to Rhode Island. But I also didn't think there was a chance in hell that they were going to lose to LaSalle. And I didn't think there was a chance that they were going to lose against, St. Joe's. But that's where we're at. And very similar to last year. If you guys remember, it was last year where Dayton lost 3 straight that kind of shot themselves in the foot of being able to get to the NCAA tournament as well. So that's, very similar to last year, except it happened more later in the year. But, there was a chance where Dayton was kind of really building momentum to get back into the at-large conversation. They just couldn't figure out a way to get it done. They start out 5-0 in A10 play, and I even started buying it. I'm like, hey, this Dayton team, like, to their credit, they're short. I was actually more impressed when they were shorthanded. When they had some of their star players on the bench and when they were lacking. I mean, there was times where, like, do they even have a post presence at all? I actually felt like they were playing better than they were playing faster. All right, it was ugly basketball, but they were more aggressive defensively. I have no clue what the heck we're watching right now. Dayton, 3 straight losses, just inexcusable. It's inexcusable. And it got me to thinking, because Anthony Grant, his name is getting brought up a lot. And this fan base is very split when it comes to Dayton Flyers, when it comes to the future of Anthony Grant. And it got me to thinking, like, the things that I hear, okay, the things that I hear about Anthony Grant, it reminds me an awful lot about Zach Taylor. Okay, we've seen enough of Zach Taylor. We have seen enough of Anthony Grant to where we kind of know who they are. We kind of know, what, as far as we kind of know what to expect with them. All right. And the one thing about Zach Taylor, who has missed the playoffs for 3 straight years with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, with Trey Hendrickson, yes, a bad defense, but my goodness, how many teams would kill to have the problem of, oh my gosh, we only have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. He hasn't found a way to get it done. But the one thing you keep hearing is, and we heard it from Duke Tobin, we heard it from the Brown family, that really good ownership group, down south in Cincinnati. Shout out to my new friend, Christopher, by the way. I'll say this, that the one thing we keep hearing from Duke Tobin, the one thing we keep hearing from the Brown family when it comes to Zach Taylor is, we're confident that this coaching staff can get it done because we've seen it before. And Bengals fans hate that. Non-Bengals fans mock that. I think we could all have agreed that that's kind of a stupid way to view it. Hey, I know Zach Taylor can get it done. It's 2026, but you remember that time in 2022? When you remember 4 or 5 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl? Zach Taylor, he could do that, man. Just give him time. I feel like that's the stage that we're at with the Dayton Flyers. Although it's been 9 years of Anthony Grant in Dayton, and it's been 8 years of continuous underachievement. The 2020 season was phenomenal. It was magical. It was unreal. We all know it. But every time that this man struggles, he gets a pass because of 2020. Watching Dayton on national TV is nauseating because it's like the broadcasters, they don't do any homework. All they do is just repeat, remember in 2020? Remember Obi Toppin? Remember the game day? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you remember the 5 years after that where this team struggles to be the likes of St. Joe's on any given year and in LaSalle? You remember the 5 years after that where they do awesome, amazing things in November, December, and then remember how they can't do a damn thing come January or February? You remember that? Oh, Dayton, one of the best programs in the country. They should be. They have a beautiful arena, 13,000 fans fill that everywhere. You know, whether you go to Maui, whether you go to New Jersey, whether you go to California, it doesn't matter. Thousands and thousands of you lunatics, and I mean that respectfully, follow that team. This team has it all. This program has it all. They're a private school. They're a basketball school. They don't have to share with football. Wink, wink, right? Like, they don't have to do any of that. It's all about basketball. It's all about, they have every resource imaginable. Your coach makes millions of dollars. You can make them. I mean, this program has everything you can imagine. And yet, you know what they have more than anything else? You know what Dayton has more than VCU? You know what Dayton has more than St. Louis and every other team that doesn't have the resources that Dayton does? You know what Dayton has more than all of those teams? Excuses. Excuses, excuses, excuses. And it really does kind of get old. I get tired of hearing why this team can't get it done. I mean, this is an article, Dayton Daily News. David Jablonski covers the Flyers, does a great job. This is an article from in the middle of the summer. So it was June 23rd of 2025. Okay. Dayton has, they have more of this than any other team in the conference. And yes, it's money and resources, but it's excuses. This is a quote from Neil Sullivan, the athletic director, that says, I do think that we are operating in probably the most challenging 5 or 6 year period coming off of COVID. Oh, we're still doing that? Because there's one thing that's more nauseating than hearing about 2020. It's hearing about COVID as why you suck in 2026, Mr. Sullivan. What are you talking about? Respectfully or disrespectfully, what are you talking about? Neil Sullivan said that it's been really hard to find what we've been after. What are you talking about? Miami of Ohio could figure it out. St. Louis seems to be figuring it out. Was COVID only a Dayton problem? Hey guys, sorry. I could just do, in fact, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Grant, I'm going to go ahead and just take care of your postseason speech for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you for coming to our press conference. I'd just like to say, as you know, in 2020, we had a horrific pandemic. And because of that, we lost 3 straight games against LaSalle, against St. Joe's, and yes, against Archie Miller. And I'm very sorry, but we are not going to make the NCAA tournament. I mean, there's a chance that we could win the A-10 tournament, but again, COVID, we won't be able to. Why is in June of 2025 is Neil Sullivan still talking about COVID? It's always deflection. It's always making excuses. Dayton he goes on to say, it's been really hard to find what we've been after, which is consistency and stacking years back to back. The new model kind of creates some roster chaos, and the consistency for us and for a lot of others has proven elusive. I don't want to hear it. You have every dollar imaginable, all the resources. You have an NBA arena. You have the most passionate fan base outside of the Power Four. And we're still talking about COVID. And, well, it's very hard to be consistent for everybody. But everybody seems to be figuring it out except you. It doesn't make any sense. It's nauseating. I'm tired of hearing about it. And it's just, it is what it is at this point. Another quote, and this is from, keep in mind that this is also from Neil Sullivan. In Dayton basketball, anytime we don't win a championship or compete in the NCAA tournament, that is not what our expectations are. Sullivan said, I think all of our players would say that. All of our coaches would say that. That's what we believe in. One more time, Neil Sullivan, the athletic director, said this. In Dayton basketball, anytime we don't win a championship or compete in the NCAA tournament, that is not what our expectations are. I think all of our players would say that. All of our coaches would say that. That's what we believe in. And yet, here we are talking about COVID in June of 2025, because last year they came up short. Last year, 23-11, 11-6 in A-10. They were 10-3 in the non-con, and that included victories last year over Marquette, who was number 2 in the country. That included wins against UConn, who at the time I think was like 1 or 2. They finished number 6 last year. And both of those teams finished 3rd and 4th, respectively, in the Big East. And then remember how I talked about those 3 straight losses against, obviously LaSalle, bad one. And then it was comboed by the St. Joe's loss. And then last night, up 15 at home, and you lose to Rhode Island against your ex. Your ex was in town. You want to show off when your ex is around. You want to let your ex know that, hey, we had some good times together, but I'm doing better now without you. Nah, Archie was smiling. I forgot that he even knew how to. I forgot what his smile looked like. He was smiling leaving the court at UD Arena last night. 3 straight losses. It's LaSalle, St. Joe's, and of course, last night's Rhode Island loss. And that's what has obliterated their at-large chances. If you go back to last season, it was the same thing. 3 straight losses in January. George Washington, Massachusetts, of course, UMass, and then, of course, George Mason. That killed all their hopes of an NCAA tournament at-large berth. Needing to win the A-10 tournament to get that at the time would have been back-to-back NCAA tournament berths. So this is where I disagree with Neil Sullivan when he says things like it's been really hard to find what we've been after, which is consistency. I'm sorry, Neil. Actually, I think you've been probably one of the most consistent A-10 teams. You consistently underachieve. You consistently miss the NCAA tournament. You consistently make excuses. You consistently let your fans down. And it's happening again. Anthony Grant, and like I said, Zach Taylor, the talk around Zach Taylor and the talk around Anthony Grant, it reminds me so much. It's the same. The Bengals don't want to move on from Zach Taylor, and they say it in their press conferences. They say it when they say things like, well, we know this team can get it done. We've seen them do it before. And that's what a lot of the Dayton, talk is about too, is, well, remember 2020? It's like, well, the Bengals they're still living in the Super Bowl appearance that they lost. And, people are still living in the, 2020 run that was 6 years ago. I don't get it. It's frustrating, man. It really is. And I don't feel like I'm being a hater or anything like that. You guys should just be as upset and frustrated, as I am, as any college basketball fan should be when it's all said and done. So the question is, at 937-518-1410, Flyer fans, Anthony Grant, is he officially on the hot seat? Is he officially on the hot seat? That's what I want to know. Because again, I don't think it's a hot seat. If I have a job description, I have a responsibility of what I have to do to uphold my job status here. Like if I want to remain employed, there are certain things that I have to continue to do. And when I have my, annual review, if I'm not doing those things, hey, Mr. Kenner, we appreciate all the work you've done for us in the 12 years that you've been here. Is it 12? Started in 14? Yeah, 12 years. It'll be 12 years in February, actually. Yeah, bad for you, good for me. But we appreciate all the work you've done, Mr. Kenner, for the last 12 years, but you have not been doing X, Y, and Z. Therefore, we're going to have to go in a different direction. That sucks. But, oh well, that's life. So imagine Anthony Grant and going to sit down with Neil Sullivan and they're having his annual job review. Well, if you just base it off what Neil Sullivan says in this quote right here, in Dayton basketball, anytime we don't win a championship or compete in the NCAA tournament, that is not what our expectations are. So guess what? Year number 9 of Anthony Grant. 7 of those 9 years, not winning championships, not competing in the NCAA tournament. Neil Sullivan said, don't just take his word for it. He says, I think all of our players would say that. All of our coaches would say that. That's what we believe in. Do you? Do you? I don't. I'm having a hard time believing you, Mr. Sullivan. I really am having a hard time believing you. Because it seems to me that you're content with 20-win seasons. You're content with first and second round NIT, exits. You're content with not actually producing an NCAA tournament quality team. You're content with just continuing to put out social media clips of Obi Toppin and Deron Holmes and Tumani Kamara and saying built here. That's what you seem to believe in, because I don't believe that you believe in whatever ludicrous statement that is that you made talking about in Dayton basketball. Anytime we don't win a championship or compete in the NCAA tournament, that is not what our expectations are. I mean, nonetheless. Matthew Sense says Dayton wouldn't trade 3 first-round picks for Watson. Nice try, Mr. Matthew Sense. Nice try. I'm calmed down now, My boss had to pull me aside and say, hey, can you dial it back? Can you go to a new topic? And I said, sure. He said, what topic is that? I said, Anthony Grant and Dayton. And he said, damn it. And then he walked away because he knew. He just knows, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, okay. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. In all seriousness, Anthony Grant, this is the most divided I've seen the Flyer fan base when it comes to Anthony Grant quite some time, because a lot of you were doing this. Come on, he's a former National Coach of the Year. I think you're all starting to understand that it's almost after this season, if he comes back for a 10th year, there is nothing about Anthony Grant that I would be excited about in year number 10, because we've seen it for 9 years. They've made the NCAA tournament twice, technically only once, because 2020, technically, there was no tournament. You know that March Madness branded floors? You've only seen Anthony Grant pace those floors one time in 9 years. And like I said, maybe they catch fire and they go on a run and they win the A-10 tournament. And you all can go back and clip this and say, oh, man, Kinner, a lot of egg on your face, blah, 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 blah. Maybe. But, in the meantime. All right, 937-518-1410. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, thanks for holding.
How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm in a great mood today.
I thought you were talking to me for a little bit. I was like, am I not on the phone? I thought you were talking to me like a half hour ago.
No. Nope, there's more than one of you, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. But anyhow, no. Is he on the hot seat? He better be on the hot seat. If he's not on the hot seat, then I have some serious questions for everything that supposedly is UD basketball. Last time, I remember the time when a UD AD would say there's nothing more important than making the tournament. And now we have a UD athletic director talking about that's not the most important thing, and still bringing up 2020, probably because they still feel like the fan base, they got robbed and they should have had the tournament, and we missed out on a Final Four or a possible national championship appearance and blah 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 blah. It's time we move on, folks. It's not 2020 anymore. I'm like you, Justin. I don't count 2020. He's made the big dance one time, and the other thing, that other tournament, the not invited tournament, they view as big and important there at UD too, and he's never made it past the second round in that tournament.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I'm always supposed to believe that, man, if they could just make the tournament, they'd go on these runs every year. And I'm like, you can't even make it out of the second round of the NIT. I get it. The NIT is not the NCAA tournament, but if you're going to play in a lesser than tournament, then go bully that lesser than tournament and let everybody know that you made a mistake not letting us in. Like that year, I think it was the year before Duran's final year where they said, hey, that they were the next team out. Like they were the last team to miss the NCAA. Like they had just left them on the outside. And yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, so that team was this close to making the NCAA tournament, and then they flopped in the NIT. And I'm like, I just don't get it. Just opt out of the NIT. I'd still judge them for that. But if you're going to go play in it, go play in it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And the other part of it too is they hold themselves at such high regard, and they think they're so bigger than what they are, and that's why they can't play Wright State, and that's why they can't play a bunch of other schools around here, because they're bigger than what they think they are. Everybody else doesn't understand it. They're bigger than what they think they are.
Wright State's very good this year, and again, it doesn't matter how good they are in the regular season. It all comes down to that tournament, but. Dayton's very big on optics, and I can't tell you. Imagine if Wright State, who's number one, and they're the best team in their conference this year. You've seen them play. Like they're, I'm not saying they're bulletproof, but they're pretty damn good. If they win their tournament and make the NCAA tournament, that'll be since Anthony Grant has been here, Wright State would have made the tournament 3 times compared to his once. He has a tournament win. Wright State has a tournament win. Like the lesser than school. And by the way, I'm never going to say Wright State's a bigger program than Dayton. That would just be idiotic. But they are all about optics. Trust me, I'm not saying something that they don't know deep down. Wright State to have more tournament appearances with them in a decade's length of time, that would be, not a good look for the program. And they're in their own way. They're in their own way.
Right. 100%. To me, as an AD, I'd be sitting there looking at this going, okay, what's Wright State doing that we're not? And I don't understand how you have all the money, you have the NIL, you have all the advantages that you do have as UD, and I understand UD fans will sit there and tell you about all the disadvantages they have, but that's the joy of being UD. Like, you have those issues. Go play, and you guys have proven you'll go play anybody else out in November and December, as you already brought up, and you'll go play them, and you'll play them very competitively. My problem with Anthony Grant is you come to the A-10 and it's every single year. Last year it was a three-game losing streak. This year it's a 3-game losing streak. You guys can't even dominate the A-10. But yet you want to pump out your chest and talk about how you don't play Miami anymore and you don't play Wright State anymore. That's my issue. Like, you're not even the best in this area, but you pump your chest like you think you are. I don't. That's my problem. I have a lot of problems with that program. And my buddy used to go there. He graduated there in 2007. We went to a lot of UD basketball games. The story you told yesterday sounds very similar to me in UD basketball. And since then, since he left, and the only thing that I can remember is the Archie Miller run. And after last night, I'm sitting here going, okay, he left to go to Indiana. UD didn't fire him. If I was the AD, I'd be giving Archie Miller a call.
Well, no, to Dayton's credit at the time, and I gave them credit, there was a quote that came out in the paper that right when, because I remember when it happened, the first quote that was put out in the paper from Neil Sullivan was that they had prepared it was worded weird. They just said that they had prepared a compensation package that would have made him one of the top 10 compensated coaches in basketball. Like, I just thought it was worded weird. I mean, he would have been one of the top 10 paid coaches, but like, I don't know if they were just going with the thesaurus, going with the bigger words or whatever. The top 10 compensated coach in college basketball. I don't know, but I respected that. I'm like, wow, that's pretty damn cool. The fact that they either attempted that knowing that he wasn't going to stay, and it was just good optics that, hey, we tried to make him a top 10 compensated coach in college basketball, which there's a good possibility of that. Or two, they really were trying to do that. I think at the time they were desperate to keep that train rolling. I think that they desperately wanted to keep that rolling, and I don't blame them. Dayton basketball felt bigger, and Anthony Grant took over a program that was nationally relevant, and I don't think they're nationally relevant anymore. They're just not, and I think that's his own doing, and it's crazy because his peak is super high. When you think about the National Coach of the Year honor, the 2020 season, I get all of that. But that was a long time ago. And at some point, you have to stop living off of that season. And, it is what it is. It's what have you done for me lately? And what have you done for me over the long haul? And the long haul, you take that 2020 season out. Neil Sullivan said that they're looking for consistency. Well, I think you've got it, my friend. I think you've got consistency. You've consistently been an underachieving program. And I don't get it. Anthony Grant gets good players. It's just they underachieve. It's not like this is a bad team that's not finding a way. They're a good team that underachieves when the biggest moments get here, and it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense as far as that's concerned. But
it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. And like you just said, like, they have the players, and the players go on, and you've seen the players go on, and they're depth pieces in the NBA and stuff like that. And it just makes it even more frustrating as a quasi UD fan when you sit there and you watch the games, and then you sit there with all this other stuff going on, and you're just like I'd rather have Brian Gregory. I'd rather have Oliver Purnell. Like, at least they were going to the tournament, and and they would make they wouldn't make Archie Miller runs, but they'd go to the Sweet 16 every now and then. But this guy comes in with but here's a little game for you. Back in 2020, how long ago this was, Michigan hadn't even went on their run yet. You and I hadn't even had battles about Honor Stallions yet. That's how long ago that was. And but we want to sit here and still talk about 2020 like it's relevant, and it's not 6 years down the road. People have gotten hired and fired in this amount of time, but yet we want to still bring up 2020 like it just happened last year, and Anthony Grant is still some relevant coach. And it's just, I don't know. It's disturbing to me. It's frustrating in every verb word you can come up with, because Dayton could be very good. They could be very good. And the fact that they're not in the Big East should be the AD should be looking at it and going, why are we not? And there's a plenty of other reasons, for political reasons and all kinds of other reasons and everything else. But the other reason is this, and you've said it so many times over the last couple of years, because you can't beat the A-10. Like, if you were doing what Xavier was doing to the Big E, to the A-10, they'd have probably called you up already. If you were doing what Butler was doing, they'd have called you up already. You're not even dominating the A-10. You barely sometimes can't even get out of the first round of the A-10. But yet we want to sit here and pump our chest and that we're University of Dayton basketball, and we want to ride. In a way, they're kind of like the Cincinnati Reds. We want to roll on 1970, and we want to roll on all of our history, and we want to talk about that and bring all that out. But we also know that we're going to bring 13,000 inside that arena every night, and that's what we bank on. We don't want to give the fans any NCAA tournament runs. We don't want to give the fans any Elite Eight runs. We don't want to give the fans any big major things. We just want to sit here and pump out our chest that we're bringing in 13,000 every night, and we have $1 million coach who basically is making $1 million for almost every win he gets. And I don't know. It's frustrating. And if he's not on the hot seat, like I said earlier when I brought it to bring it all home, if he's not on the hot seat, then that tells you everything that's going on with that UD basketball program. They'd rather receive that money than actually go out there and win and put something out there for those 13,000 fans to actually cheer about. I know I'm up against it, but I'll get out of here.
I'm not going to let you do the Go Blue thing. I know that's what you were going for, Shaw. But yeah, no, Shaw just said he compared him to the Reds. I mean, my goodness, could you imagine if Dayton was the Reds? Could you imagine if Dayton Flyers did bobblehead nights like the Reds? Like the Reds, like they're obsessed with the Big Red Machine. And it's like they find a way to squeeze a Pete Rose or some kind of bobblehead, honoring the Big Red Machine. Right? Can you imagine if every year it would be a Don Donaher bobblehead and an Obi Toppin bobblehead. That's it. I mean, every year they would just they would put Obi Toppin in it would be Star Wars night. They'd put Obi Toppin in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like they would do something like that. Like, Don Donaher, they would just fight different themes. Stranger Things night, Don Donaher in a bobblehead with all the Stranger Things cast and little smaller bobbleheads around him, right? Like that, you're right. That's what the Reds, because they're obsessed with, they try to distract you from the, inability to do what they're supposed to now by bringing up the past. And that's why if Dayton would have made the NCAA tournament 3 or 4 times since 2020, if they would have more tournament wins since 2020, I guarantee you they wouldn't bring up 2020. If the Reds actually were more of a consistent playoff team and they actually made playoff runs and they've won a World Series in the last 30 years, I promise you we wouldn't hear so much about the Big Red Machine. It's just the only thing that they have to go off of because the Reds try to distract you. The Reds try to distract you with the Big Red Machine, and that's what they're trying to do here. That's why you hear Neil Sullivan in 2025, because that quote was from June of 2025. You hear their athletic director bringing up COVID. Sorry, guys, we're struggling. We're underachieving, but damn COVID, man. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't want to hear about COVID, and I don't want to hear about the 2020 NCAA tournament that wasn't. So it is what it is. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. I know it's Dayton's ESPN Radio, and I'm just ripping on Dayton. But don't lose 3 straight. Don't have your athletic director tell everybody that it's all about championships and NCAA tournament berths, and then don't accomplish any of that on a consistent basis, and then expect us to say, well, get them next year, buddy. And then you have little articles in the paper that are calling fans, the Flyer faithful or the unfaithful, mocking Flyer fans who are, uncomfortable. I mean, you Flyer fans spend a lot of money on tickets. You spend a lot of money on apparel. A lot of you donate a lot of money to the collective. You should be frustrated because I don't think this is the ROI that you were expecting. Nonetheless, it's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.